Paul, thank you very much. I want you to help President Buhari find this 30,000 naira. Where should he look to? Where should help Bismarck Rawani and the rest of his team, these wise men, to help the president find the money, including the 36 state governments? It looks like everybody is up in a bit some angst right now to find this. Do you have an idea where this money is? We need to pay. Yeah, we're going to build the factories, your very fancy factories and industries. Paul, great ideas. We need to pay salaries right now. Show me the money.
Thank you so very much. A state in Northwest, I beg your pardon, generated 2 billion naira just in 1 quarter by focusing on outdoor advertising. These states have capacity, the similar capacity that the state in Southwest, particularly your state, could generate. The question is, what have that state done that perhaps a state in Southeast or South-South or Southwest is not doing? Lagos State, from outdoor advertising alone, generates billions on annual basis. What is wrong with other states? You say perhaps because Lagos is the business hub and so on and so forth. But that may not be the reality of what is happening in the Northwest state in Nigeria. I think state government needs to hire those who could help them, more like economic consultants, to help them identify the money, one of which I've mentioned. There are so many other ones that state government could generate. But the reason why they are not generating so much is because of leakages. You have a lot of persons who are under the state cover claiming they are generating revenue for the same state, but because they are not on target. If you work in a commercial bank, or you work in any bank for that matter, the owners of the bank will put every branch on target. And when you're on target, you know that if you are not performing, then you'll be shown the way out. But because people come to government work, and perhaps to some private sector work, believing that I have job security. Until security is removed and performance is the baseline, then the revenue everybody is looking for will be right before our faces.
So let's talk about the those that the president says are already earning 30,000 minimum wage will not be part of this new arrangement. That's a new one. I haven't heard that before. I'm not sure any administration ever discussed that since independence.
Yeah, it's the first time this is coming. Perhaps the president is saying this because at this time, the country cannot eat its cake and have it. If you want to pay 30,000 and you want to make that roll across board, that will erode most of the national revenue. Even we might need to borrow to pay based on the reality of what is on ground. So now, Labour, we need to decide. Should government cut the labor force, the number of people that are working at the public service, talking about state and federal government now, or we only allow the baseline income to increase from 18,000 to 30,000? So Labour will choose, but I would say that government, most importantly, in the coming period, should tie payment to performance. This way, we're going to have a more efficient labor force for particularly public sector.
Or do you think the Bismarck Rawani's team should suggest that to Mr. President in their report and say, look, this looks good, but we have to find a sustainable way of what you call source and application of funds. So we need to tie everything to performance and not just making sure we pay now because it's politically convenient and get the NLC out of the way before the elections. Then after that, we continue business as usual.
Yes, that's the advice. I think the team, I believe they will do a good job, and I believe that the person leading the team is someone I also trust. I believe that good job will be done. In doing this, they should look at, in the coming period, how will government be able to keep paying 30,000 naira minimum wage? Something is certain. Government cannot roll these across board for the entire labor force. But what has been done when 18,000 minimum wage was approved, it does not mean everybody's salary was multiplied by the same figure, no. But the proportion, there was some proportion increase in everyone's income. But there might be zero increase, but there might be some proportion. If the previous ones was 70, 30, 20, 10 to the highest paid person, it might be a flat rate of 5%. But I also think that as much as we don't want to pay all of them, the minimum wage, where I think it will put the economy, with the entire country in a financial mess, we might want to give them what is most realistic today. And perhaps that is the core point President Buhari mentioned when he said he would have to negotiate with labor. And I also think I can see an NLC that is willing to negotiate with the president. Perhaps that is why they have mentioned that their main concern are the state governors who claim they are in financial crisis.
Yes, so yes, the state governors have undressed in public, admitting what you called subnational fiscal crisis. How bad it is, of course, we know how bad it was. 27 states, as at some point, according to Mr. President, were not paying salaries regularly, as it were. Even though they've received hundreds of billions, they're now run into some few trillions of naira. They are still not fiscally sustainable. So, how long do you think we can carry this number of states on the back of the federal government before you break the back of Mr. President and his administration?
Yeah, I think very soon, because of what is coming ahead of Nigeria, even the federal government, which is a more global issue. Before the end of 2019, I understand many Nigerians are people of faith, but before the end of 2019, we might be witnessing another global economic quagmire. We are celebrating 11 trillion market capitalization by Mr. Temple Ashaji mentioned it today. Before 2019, sometimes early 2018, that market was around 13 trillion. And everybody, when it got to 13 trillion, there was not so much celebration. Why are we celebrating moving from 10 to 11? Because some things are coming in the near future for Nigeria, not just Nigeria. The same thing is happening to UK. The same thing is happening in France. The same thing is happening to America. America, for God's sake, borrowed $2 trillion. Why China still has $3 trillion in its vote? There are some things that may be happening in the coming period. So government cannot continue to carry. We need to start planning for that future. That future should be between June this year and June next year. It's so close to us. Whoever wins 2019 election, that will be his major challenge, particularly financially. So if that's on his side, what government should have done is what different countries we study have done. When President Obama got to office, there was some economic issues with American economy. But President Obama did not bail out the states in America. Rather, he bailed out the private sector. It was this private sector that got people back to work, and states were able to charge them in taxes so that they are able to also pay their staff and also to continue state activity. I think in the coming period, when you have opportunity to give funds to people, we should not give it to state. If you are not able to deliver your state administration, it's not just about who can flex the muscle of which political party can. It is which political that program that can ensure that policies we enable private sector to keep people a job and for people to keep retaining their job and perhaps businesses to thrive in the state. And we have all over the country today huge opportunity for different state governments to keep their people a job and to ensure that they have more revenue. Perhaps because many of us, many people that have contested election have not looked at the big issue. Is the economy stupid? That's the question we should be asking perhaps most people at the state and local government level that want to lead without determining how they will finance their government. And I've said minimum wage should be determined by different individual states. Federal government and state government should set the baseline, but going further, individual states to determine what they can pay. We should not go below the baseline. However, federal government and state government should also agree that the state will control its resources. So by so doing, you have no excuse. You cannot go to the big brother at the center to say you want to collect revenue from them. But we cannot on the one side want to run a more market-driven system, on another side say we want to run a planned system. That is the confusion in mixed economy, most mixed economy in the world. They are faced with similar challenges. But I hope the backbone of the federal government will not break anytime soon if we want to give out any further loans to state governments that are not performing. If you have a business, you cannot keep pumping money, keep borrowing, I beg your pardon, keep lending to that business that is not performing, that is giving you little or low return on investment. Financial advisors will say it's high time this business is reached a shutdown point so that it does not drain your pocket. And I think this is the advice that should go to federal government. If some persons who are leading in state are not able to come out of their financial crisis, I think they may need to consider another option or ask people who know how to help them with their financial issues.
Okay, so the federal government has given state governments bailout monies, which is called the Paris Club refund, north of 1.3 trillion naira. You're an economist. So if you have given that 1.3 trillion naira to the private sector, give me an advice of how much we should be looking at in terms of return.
Okay, I'll give you. If we are put it in private sector, particularly in housing, federal government would have generated not less than 3 million jobs, unlike what is not generated in the public sector, particularly the state that are given. And we spread this housing, say 5,000 or 10,000 per state across the federation. You can build at least, even if it's not up to 10,000, say 2,000. You are sure most of those who perhaps are saying they are the bottom of the pyramid that the government is trying to help, that is those that are really poor, they can be bricklayers of some sort, they can be builders of some sort, they can be sellers of some sort. All these people will be brought back into the employment bracket. They will leave unemployment bracket, or an underemployment that's about 20.1%. You are going to have active economy booming. Why China is becoming so great and everybody is looking at China, say, I want to do business in China, or I want to study China, what is peculiar about it? Because it built the largest infrastructure, more than what America did in 2 years. It was able to do it in months. So if our economy will boost and you pump 1 trillion naira directly into private sector, and you are using housing, which does not necessarily require over-skilled labor, or in terms of percentage, perhaps you're talking about 10 to 15% of skilled labor requirement in housing. Most of the requirement there will be semi-skilled or unskilled labor for housing. And this will be the big news. This is an opportunity we missed as a country for those people who could have helped us to put people to job. And that would have eventually reduced inflation, because it will be fund supply, it will be money supply back with performance. But you saw some states, when they were given this money, it was allegedly mentioned that they were given the money, there was diversion of fund. The former Minister of Finance had mentioned that in some of the reports, that it was mentioned that some of the states had diverted fund that was meant for bailout into other items other than to pay salaries so that it could lubricate the economy. So when you look at when we bailed some states out, what happened to the GDP? Do we really come out of recession? And if we had come out of recession, by what proportion was this growth compared to what would have given us between 5 to 7% increase in GDP if our attention were on housing alone?
Okay. Paul Alaje, thank you very much for putting it very nicely. We appreciate your perspectives and insight into these macro economic issues. Thank you very much. To have a great weekend from SPM Profession as a senior economist.